Let's take a look at some problems that will help us review for the fourth 6 weeks test that you will be taking tomorrow. First question. This problem says that we have a recycling bin that is 2 feet long, 12 inches wide, and 18 inches tall. What is the volume of the recycling bin in cubic feet? So a couple things we need to notice. First of all, this is a question about volume, and the answer is asked for cubic feet. So we need to put it in feet. The reason I point that out is because in our problem we do have 2 feet. One of the measurements is 2 feet. However, the other measurements are in inches. We have 12 inches wide, and we have 18 inches tall. So let's remember our formula. We're going to use a formula, V equals capital BH. And remember that the capital B stands for the area of the base, and for the base we're going to use the length and the width of 2 feet and 12 inches. Now I'm going to go ahead and convert the 12 inches into feet, which is going to make it exactly 1 foot. So let's change this 12 feet, and 12 inches, and let's call that 1 foot as well. So in our formula, we're going to multiply, for capital B, we're going to multiply 2 times 1. Then we're going to multiply that times the height, which is 18 inches. Well, instead of using 18 inches, I'm going to use 1.5 for feet. So 2 times 1 is 2, and then we're multiplying that times 1.5, and 2 times 1.5 is going to be 3. So our answer is going to be 3 cubic feet. Next problem. This one says to write an equation that represents the volume V of the following circle in terms of pi. So they want the answer in terms of pi. That means we do not have to work out the 3.14. We can leave that in our answer, but we have to work everything else out. So let's go ahead and start with the formula for finding the volume of this is not actually a circle, this represents a sphere. Okay, it probably should say sphere in the question, but a sphere is a circle in a sense. So the formula for the volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay, first thing you need to notice is that the r is actually cubed. So let's start by finding the radius, and of course the 4 inches is the radius. So we're going to plug in a 4 here, and we need to cube it. And when you multiply 4 times 4 times 4, you actually get 64. So if we rewrite our formula, we have volume equals 4/3 pi times 64. Well, we're going to leave pi in our answer, but we need to multiply the 4/3 times 64. So let's start with that. 4/3 as a fraction times 64 over 1. And when you multiply 64 times 4, you get 256, and then 3 times 1 is 3. So we need to divide 3 into 256. I'm actually going to do that over here. 3 divided into 256. Let's see, that will go 8 times here. Looks like our answer is going to be 85.3, or maybe 85 1/3 times pi. So that's what your answer would look like right there in terms of pi. Volume is 85 1/3 times pi. Let's move on. Okay, this problem says what formula can be used to find the volume of the following figure. So all it is asking for is actually a formula, and the formula for volume. Well, the formula for volume is volume equals capital B H. This is actually the formula for volume for prisms, pyramids. Well, not pyramids. That would be 1/3 BH. But for prisms, it's volume equals capital BH. All right. This question says that triangle ABC is similar to triangle XYZ. So let's point out our triangles here. We have ABC, and it's similar to XYZ. Then it gives us some measurements. It says the length of AC, which is from here to here, is 6 inches. And then the length of XY, which is that should say XZ. Let me mark that out real quick. If these are similar, this should say XZ. So if XZ is 15 inches, then we have a ratio of corresponding sides. AC is 6 and XZ is 15. It also tells us that the perimeter of ABC is equal to 15 inches. So we have a ratio of 6 to 15 based on corresponding sides, and that ratio will also be the same when you're talking about the perimeter of these two triangles. So we can use the ratio of 6 to 15 and set that equal to the known perimeter of 15 that goes with the 6 over x. We've set up this proportion. If you cross multiply and divide, you can determine what the missing measurement is, or the perimeter of the larger triangle. So 15 times 15 is 225. And of course we have 6 times x, which we're going to need to divide by 6. 6 goes into 22 3 times. Looks like our answer is going to be 37 and a half. And that is the perimeter of the larger triangle based on a ratio of 6 to 15. This problem says that we have triangle PQR, which is the little one. PQR is similar to triangle PST. And if PQ is 15 inches and QS is 10.5 inches, then how long is ST? All right, let's start by plugging in the information that we know. First of all, we know that PQ is 15 inches. And we know that QS is 10.5. And we are going to use our corresponding sides. Notice that they've given us an 18 inches for QR. So we have a ratio in the PQR triangle of 15 to 18. So we can start by writing that 15 to 18. And we're going to set it equal to the corresponding sides of PS to ST. Now to get PS, we have to combine 15 and 10.5. And when we do that, we're going to get 25.5. And we're going to set that over our x, which corresponds to the 18. And we have our proportion, and we have to solve. you're going to have to start by multiplying 25 times 18. And when you multiply 25, I'm sorry, it's actually 25 and a half times 18, you're going to get 459. Then you're going to divide 459 by the 15. 15 goes into 45 3 times, which is 45. Bring down your 9. It doesn't go into 9. Add a decimal. Bring down a 0. And 15 goes into 90 6 times. So your answer is 30.6 or 30 2/3. One of these two answers is the value of X. This says that Mike bought a present for his girlfriend that he wants to cover with gift wrap. If the box measures 12 inches wide by 12 inches long and 5 inches tall, how many square inches of gift wrap will be needed to cover the present? Okay, this is a question about surface area. Now let's be sure we understand our measurements. First of all, we have a measurement of 12 inches wide. And we have another measurement of 10 inches long. And we have 5 inches tall. So we're going to use these two measurements as the base. And then we're going to use this measurement as the height. So if we use our formula for finding surface area, and we're finding the total surface area because we're covering the entire gift, our formula is going to be pH plus 2b. Now, P stands for the perimeter of the base. Well, this is the base, so we're going to have 2 widths and 2 lengths. So 12 and 12 is 24. 10 and 10 is 20. So our perimeter is going to be 44. That's the perimeter of the base. We multiply that times the height, which is 5. And then we add that to 2 times the area of the base. Well, the area of the base is going to be 12 times 10, which is 120. So when you do 44 times 5 here, you get 220, and then you add to that 2 times 12 times 10 is 120. So we have 220 plus, and then this is going to be 2 times 120, which is 240. When you add these two together, 220 and 240, you're going to get 460. 460, and that would be inches squared. 460 square inches of paper needed to cover the present. This problem says that Kevin wants to cover the label of a cylinder container with plain white paper. If the container has a diameter of 12 inches and a height of 8 inches, how much paper will be needed to cover the label? Okay, so we're talking about a cylinder can. Looks something like this, just to draw, kind of sketch a diagram. Okay, but he only wants to cover the label. So if it specifies the label, then all we're trying to figure out is the area of the label, this part right here. Now, we have a formula for this, and it is the lateral surface area only. If you were looking at your formula chart, you would look at circles, and you would look for lateral surface area. Lateral identifies just the label of a can. And on the formula chart, it will actually look like this. it will say 2 pi r h. The two r's stand for the diameter, and when you multiply diameter times pi, you're going to get the circumference of the circle, which is one of the measurements of the label, and then of course you have the height as well. And the height, we understand from the problem, is 8 inches. So let's just plug in our numbers. We have 2 times 3.14, I'm going to go ahead and put that in parentheses, times the radius. Let's see, what does it say about the radius? It has a diameter of 12 inches. So if the diameter is 12, then we know that the radius equals 6. So times 6, and then times height, which is 8. So now we've plugged in everything for the formula, 2 pi r h. When you multiply, I'm going to combine 8 times 6, and that's 48. And then 2 times 3.14 is 6.28. So we need to multiply 6.28 times 48. And when we do that, we're going to get 301.44. 301.44. And that would be your answer. Again, it is inches squared because we're talking about the surface area of the label. Okay, on this question it says that the plans for a new house, the house is 12 inches wide by 20 inches long. If the house is actually going to be 30 feet wide, what will the actual length of the house be? Now, you will notice that we have measurements in inches in the diagram or in the on the plans for the house, and then we have our actual measurements of the real house are in feet. Now, we don't have to convert from inches to feet, but we have to use the ratio for the inches in the diagram. And let's see what we have here. We have 12 inches, and that is our width, and we have 21 inches for our length. So let's set it up as a ratio of width to length. So we have our ratio of 12 to 21, remembering that this represents the width and this represents. We will set that equal to the width and length of the actual house, which we have the given measurement of 30 feet wide. So we're going to put our 30 here and our unknown length here, and we have properly set up the proportion. Now it's just a matter of cross multiplying and dividing. So we cross multiply 30 times 21. So let's see, 21 times 30 is 630. And then we're going to divide by the number with the variable 12x. So we divide by 12. And when you divide 630 divided by 12, you're going to get 52.5. 52 and a half. And that is going to be the actual length of the house. 30 feet wide, 52 and a half feet in length.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.